Hey, what's up, tribe? It's Neil
and Diamond,
and this is the
Heaven
Heaven Tribe
Tribe
Podcast.
Podcast.
This is a Christian podcast where we encourage people to build a stronger and more personal relationship with God.
And if you haven't already, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook.
All right. So today we're very excited. We have some of our family on today,
Yes.
guys. It's an honor and a privilege to have my buddy Rasheed and his wife Kachiri to come on, share their story, talk about how they got together, how did they meet, and a couple things about parenting as well, and some of the values and morals that they instill in their kids. So without further ado, we're gonna bring them on the show. Y'all, please give a warm welcome to Mr. Rasheed and Kachiri Black.
Hey.
What's up? Welcome.
Thank y'all for having us. We really appreciate being on y'all podcast. We love y'all to death. We're so excited for y'all endeavors. Keep it up, man.
Appreciate it.
For the community.
Yes, indeed.
Appreciate it.
So what we like to start off with most of the couples on here now, since we're doing marriage and we're talking about parenting as well, is, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you meet? And, what made y'all decide to get married, have kids?
Well, so I was a freshman at Clark Atlanta University, and I'm trying to see how deep I want to go into this. I had a bad breakup basically, and I was like real in the dumps. My friend Walandra Whiting, she was like, "Girl, we're not gonna be in here, looking all sappy. Let's go out. It's the first probate of the year." So I was like, okay, went out to the probate, and I saw a mutual friend, and he was standing next to this guy right here. So I'm like, who is that? Like, we are amping him up. We like, that's Young Berg. Oh my gosh, Young Berg with the scene. We were so hyped. I was like, that's gonna be my man. That's my baby daddy. Like, I was doing this after a bad breakup, right? Crazy. So after that, the following day, I saw my friend. I was like, who's that dude you standing next to? He was fine as a mug, and he's like, that's my profile. So, fast forward like 2 or 3 days, I had completely forgot about him. And we went out to this party. It's called the Ape Walk. And that's like after everyone's crossed, it's like a big party or whatever. Went to Ape Walk, saw my friend. He was like, I got somebody I want to introduce you to. Here comes this guy. I was cheesing so hard. I was like, oh my God.
You knew what time it
was. And we kind of like, chilled or whatever and was talking.
We clicked.
We clicked right away.
Talked, like we chilled, we talked the entire night. I was like, when your favorite song come and find me. She found me. Well, she texted me and was like, yeah, this is my song. Where are you at? I'm like, I'm about to the DJ. So we came there. We was dancing the whole night. And after that, of course, I was with my boy, OD. And so we rolled out, dropped them off, and we was just chilling, talking all night. And it's kind of like history.
It's history.
After that, we was like for real, like friends first
for a long time.
You know what I mean? And then I think that's pretty much how everything, the longevity, happened, because we started off like kind of like, friends. Because she was just out of a situation. I was kind of still in a situation. Mm-hmm. So we played it like really slow. You know what I mean? And we was cool.
Slow walked it.
Yeah, we really slow walked it until it was like the right moment, which wasn't until like maybe a year later. You know what I mean? And then then we got together and never been apart since.
Literally.
Yeah. So,
That's one thing Neil and I talk about too, is that friendship is very important, we believe, before you get married as well. Mm-hmm. Because you get to see the good, the bad, the ugly, and different. And if they decide to stay, praise the Lord.
Okay. Yeah, friendship has to be the foundation of your relationship, because there are going to be times where you don't like that person. You probably not even going to like yourself. You're going to be like, why did I do this?
Yep.
But if you have that friend within the marriage and within the relationship, then you can use that to, be a to be like a soundboard for one another and use that to go back into the friend role. Like there's times where we might be having a disagreement and I'm like, can I talk to you like a friend? Like, this is how I feel, like you have to understand me or I have to understand you. We both have to understand each other. Like, let's come to a compromise.
Even coming up, my mom used to always say, like, that friendship aspect is important because everybody gets old. Nobody stays. I mean, beauty is an eye beholder, but nobody stays physically beautiful forever. So it's like, that friendship is really what's gonna keep it there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I know I'm not the perfect body guy, so but we're not perfect, but I know she's an old baby and this and that, but she's still beautiful to me. So I'm pretty sure when she's 90, I'm gonna be the same way. Still, I know it's inappropriate, still like squeezing her booty or something. So it is what it is.
Right. It reminds me of that song, "You're Not Perfect, but You're Perfect for Me."
Right.
I was just about to say that.
I think that's one of the most common things that we found talking to people that's married is that they always say they was friends first.
Yeah.
And the times those that are friends first last a long time.
Right.
Right.
That's important.
Yeah.
That's important.
So true.
Nowadays, man, you see marriages and they're kind of frivolous. It's like, oh, well, I can get married because I know I can get a divorce. We coming into this, even before we met each other, like my whole life, I was like, when I do get married, that's it. Like I'm not going to be one married person forever. Like have that 50th anniversary or what have you or whatever.
Right.
So it's like I always had that in my mind. Met her, and of course she was the same way. She was like, if we do, if
this is the life,
if it's happening,
you can be mad at me. You can go downstairs.
If we're gonna do this is forever. There is no D word involved because it's for better or worse. Sickness and health.
Yes.
So that's how we kind of see it as. So it's like the worst things of the worst could happen, and that's where the communication comes in, and then you got to have understanding and compromise, and and that's where that comes in. I mean, because everybody has their issues, so it's like it just depends on how you handle those issues and go through those issues. So we try to not break, but like we're just trying to not. Like it's a marriage, like it's you stand before God to get in this relationship,
right?
So we just don't believe like of it being frivolous. Like it's not something that you get into to throw away easily. Like what I mean?
Right. Oh, this is what I want to say real quick. But the other thing that's
is juicy.
The other thing that's so important also is like what better way to show being Christ-like than to have forgiveness for your significant other, even when times are extremely rough and hard and you feel like, I feel like leaving. What other way to show his light than to just show that forgiveness,
That's true.
And if you can't forgive the person that you decided to marry, then, of course there are like caveats to that. Certain things that are just like, oh no, you can't accept or, you have to move on from because it's not healthy. But, what better way to even if it doesn't work out, still show forgiveness and show that you can have that forgiveness because you want to be forgiven.
Right. And I think with friendship, you understand and begin to develop the boundaries. So when you do get married, knowing to forgive and not to forgive, or ultimately to always forgive, but that's those boundaries in the friendship, already like she ain't going for that or he ain't going
exactly.
Like a friend, you're not gonna do right. As a friend, you're not gonna do no Bama stuff. Like you ain't gonna go crud on your friend. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
especially if you love them. You don't want to hurt the people you love.
Right. That's like going cruddy on your family or something. Exactly. I mean, because now you're married, you are family. Your family.
You are at one flesh.
So,
one flesh.
Yep. So
would you go cruddy on yourself?
Nope.
Not. Right.
Right. I hope not.
And so how long have you all been married?
So we got married in 2018.
Then we had our wedding in 2019. So we've been married for 3 years and change. It'll be 4 years in April of next year. But we've been together like since 2010.
Okay.
So, we got some time.
Got some history.
Right.
Good friendship building happening.
Yeah.
More than a decade, man.
Right.
Okay. Well, can you all talk about like in regards to y'all getting married and then having your wedding almost a year later? Like what was that?
I know for me, well, we wanted like, all right, so here's the deal. So Shiri wanted something small and intimate.
Yes.
I wanted not a big wedding, but I wanted a wedding, like something like memories, like memories, talk about stuff like that. Also I'm in a fraternity. I wanted to be able to have the hymn, like our hymn sung around her. I wanted to have a celebration, right?
You wanted to have a party.
I did. So basically the first in 2018, April 11th, we got married at the harbor up here in Maryland. And like we had the the officiant, and it was just me, Shiri, and our parents. That's it. And then of course Rick was there. You know what I'm saying? Rick kind of like helped me out. Like, you know what I'm saying? He was there like getting the rings together. Yeah. So he was there, but then he kind of disappeared because it was just the parents, right? Yeah. So we did that, and then so we waited a year, and then we had after we did that, that's when we started planning the wedding. Yeah. And then we had the wedding, which was cool because it was actually pretty cool because I had somebody who's very close to me to be able to officiate the actual wedding, but we were already married, so it wasn't really, he didn't have to be like, yeah. So like it was pretty cool because he's in the church, and like he did our premarital counseling and all that stuff. Like we went through 2 premarital counselings. Yeah. We went through 3 because we did one with the first officiant, didn't we?
Oh yeah.
So we went through premarital counseling with one lady. Then we went to premarital counseling with the first officiant, and then we had premarital counseling with our officiant at the wedding. So it was pretty cool, man. We like
triple blessed.
Right.
One for the Father, one for the Holy Ghost.
Y'all can start up marriage counseling shows.
So that's why we did it like that, because she wanted one thing, I wanted one thing, and we were kind of like, we don't want it to, we both wanted to compromise.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, fine, we'll do the wedding. And of course his mom was like, oh, this is my son. Like I don't have any other sons because her other son isn't gonna get married. So well, we don't know, he might. But she was like, I want to see his wedding. So I was like, okay, we'll compromise, and I will wait and save the money and put on the party too. And I hated every minute of planning it up until when the wedding came. Then like it was so much
She was trying to plan it by herself. Yeah. Finally, her cousin, who is also a wedding planner, and she she does like agencies for like actors in California. Mm-hmm. So she came through in the clutch, was like, hey, Kachiri, I'll plan the wedding for free. It'll be my wedding.
That's
crazy. She came through, planned it. Her other cousin came through, gave us the cake for free, no charge, like as a gift. We made this wedding turned out amazing, and we really like budgeted it out. Like we didn't, we spent more than we wanted to, but we didn't spend as much as
we could have.
Yeah.
Like at first, we went to this place in Atlanta called Dontana's.
And it's vicious. Y'all ever heard about Dontana's Olympic? It's vicious, right?
Beautiful.
But it started like basic was like 21 racks. So we were
I was like, nah, I ain't trying to do that. I'm trying to get down to 10.
That's a little too, right? That's a little much, because at the end, by the time you finish, it's gonna be like
that was without
40,000. We're like,
that was without
permission for your wedding.
We're gonna go broke trying to do this.
I was like, not one day.
Yeah, so it worked out. It worked out pretty good. We was definitely we was on a budget, and we made it look like a $100,000 wedding.
We tried.
We did try.
And that's so beautiful because even when we got married, our pastor was like, well, y'all make the decision and God will work it out. And
That's
the same
true.
thing kind of happened as well. We got a free photographer. People started helping in. Like, I'll pay for your dress. I'll help pay towards your dress. Again, we were 19 and 20. So we're like, okay.
Bro.
Yeah, bro. So when people be like, well, I don't have the money to get married. We didn't have the money to get married. But I am looking forward to our 15-year renewal, trying to go to a destination.
Wow.
That's going to be
It's been 15 years?
Yeah, we're 12 right
12
now.
years, yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha, okay.
So in a couple of years, I should be where I want to be. He's, and the kids will be older. So
yeah.
Most High willing, you will.
Yeah, so you got married, we got together.
That's what you have to do.
You hear that?
You have to do.
This is the first time I'm hearing about it.
You lying. You lying. I've been talking about the 15 years for a long time.
Yeah, okay.
You lying.
That's I didn't realize it's been that long though.
Yeah, bro.
So y'all got married when we got together. So it's like years.
Yeah. Long 3 years later.
Yeah, but we knew each other probably like 2 years before that.
We met in 2005.
Okay.
He came to my 16-year-old.
No, like 3 years.
My 16th birthday party.
What?
Oh my gosh.
That's cool.
Yeah.
He was like invited by his family, and I was like, okay.
That's cool.
That's lit.
I was like, okay, he can come. So he brought a gift, so he was welcome. It's like, but that was my first time. What'd you say?
I said, now he's the gift that keeps on giving.
Amen. Amen. But yeah, that's when I first officially met him. Because at first it was at church, it was more like passing by. And then at birthdays when I was like, we officially met. So
that's cool.
Whatever, Neil. But so where are you all from?
I'm from Atlanta, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
From the A.
Riverdale to be specific.
Yeah, Riverdale, Georgia, specific.
Southside, zone 3, shawty. I'm originally from Fort Washington, Maryland. Of course, I grew up in Accokeek, but PG, back home.
Right. Right. So you said, y'all story is a story of communication and compromise. So Kachiri, you from Georgia and he's from Maryland, but you uprooted and came to Maryland. How is that?
It's been a struggle. There are blessings within it. I kind of got to, because in the beginning when I moved here, I was excited for a new beginning. I always said that I wanted to leave home because I never wanted to be like that stagnant person who's like, oh, I'm going to live here for the rest of my life. So I've always wanted to move somewhere different. So I was kind of excited. And then, things were happening that weren't so great. And then it turned me to like having a disdain for Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
But what I realized and what I chalked it up to was, in your life, sometimes God is going to put you through a season where you need to be alone to accomplish the goals that you need to accomplish. Because when I got here, like I said, I didn't have any family. I had a cousin that stayed maybe like 45 minutes away, but then she moved back to the South. So that was short-lived. And then I had 2 friends that came and moved here and was living here for about 2 years. So it was like, peaks of being here. But I understood that, when I came here, I had goals that I wanted to accomplish, like getting my master's degree. And I realized, had I been in Atlanta, would I have done it? I'm not sure. Right. Because I probably would have stayed in that same space and not felt the need to have the room to grow. Of course, it was something that I wanted to do, but being here, being, you know, in a moment or a season of solidarity until I get to where he's going to place me, I think is the objective. And every time I put it into that perspective, it changes my outlook on it. So, you know, I might have something happen and I'm like, I don't want to be here. But at the same time, I have to remember, like, I'm here for a purpose. It's a reason I'm here. He's put me here to do something. So I need to be doing that instead of loathing.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
So it kind of it sounds like when you were uprooted and you moved to Maryland, it kind of like pushed you to be uncomfortable and to adjust, and then also it propelled you to finish your degree and do other things.
Right.
Too.
Yes.
Yeah. And so were you ever like, you sure you don't want to just come down this way? Or was it always?
Well, I was already I lived in Georgia.
Yeah.
I was down there for 14 years.
Okay.
So we met at Clark Atlanta University, and I worked down there, got my degrees down there. So I had a life down there. So I told myself I was never coming back. So I was actually kind of uprooted as well.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because like we, you know, my mom, my parents, they had another venture they were trying to do. Of course, my parents are getting a little older. So I was like, look, if you guys are doing this, I have the experience, I have the know-how. I can come up there and you know, do this with you guys, you know what I'm saying? Help you guys out. Cause I mean, the restaurant industry is not, you know,
it's not a walk in the park.
It's not a walk in the park. So, you know, I extended myself. They were like, cool, you know, so we moved up here. So basically the plan was, hey, Sherry, let's do this. Let's go up here, you know, however much time we need, you know, like leap of faith, like let's get our, you know, it'll be good for us because it is my home. It's my Mecca. We'll be able to get ourselves in a good financial position. And then from there, then we can step out on faith and see what's next. There. Right. So, I mean, as far as it's been going, as far as that, I mean, me and Sherry both are kind of like, you know, but
that's pretty big though, you too, because for you to say that you really didn't even want to come back, but then because of your family feeling like you could have helped them and propelled them in their business, that's pretty noble, bro. I wouldn't have did it. I mean, they grown, but think about it like that. They grown, they'll figure it out. You know what I mean? I'm now, I gotta live my life. I gotta do what I gotta do for me and my family now.
Yeah.
For you to say, I'm going to leave from what I'm comfortable with for the last 10, 14 years and go and help my family, I don't think a lot of people would have did that. Yeah. You know, so that's pretty noble of you, man.
I appreciate that. I mean, you know, I look at it as like, well, you know, they've helped me out for so long in my life. So it's like, why not? You know, they give, I give back. You know what I mean? That's the name of the game. You know what I mean?
Rasheed is super duper selfless. Like, it be times I be like, why are you doing that? You know? But then also, like, that brings me to this next point, which is like, you're a mirror reflection to your mate. Yeah. So being a mirror reflection to him, instead of being like, you know, trying to pull him to do what I want him to do, I look at it like, this is where I need to grow. Yeah. This is what I need to learn from him. This is what he contributes that I need more of. Yeah. So I think.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a two-way street for sure.
So she definitely, it's a lot of things. It's like, especially like my relationship with the Most High, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Yeah. She has helped me, like, for real, throughout the years. It's like, I mean, we've had a journey, you know what I mean? We've done things and it all culminates, you know, back to the Most High, you know what I mean? And it's like, wow, you know, when you see things full circle. I remember when I was in Atlanta, you know, I had a bachelor's degree, I was getting my master's, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, man, like, I'm waiting tables and I'm doing all this restaurant stuff. Why? Like, this is retarded. Like, what's going on here? You know what I mean? Only to, you know, go into the future and then then I finished my master's degree in business, right? Only to get all this experience in the restaurant industry, only to get to a place to where now I'm ownership and like managing a restaurant. Like,
Yeah.
so it's like, it was all like full circle. So you see things like that and you be like, wow, that's why when people be like, faith or religion or belief, it's like, I say it's not belief. I know God, like, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, I know him because of the things that I've seen and things that
Belief
I've been shown,
leads,
you know what I mean? That's where you have faith. That's where the faith comes in, because
belief to me brings in like a space
doubt.
for doubt.
Right.
And it's like, no, ain't no belief. It's a knowing,
Yeah.
you know him. You know that he has you on a journey. Like we put in our life, I look at it like this. Like life is a big quilt and we're one thread. You can see your own destiny. You can't see where God is taking you. But once you look back at the whole of everyone and the thread of life and you realize the bigger picture, it's to glorify him, basically.
Right.
What is it to do to help one another? Like we're all put on this earth to do things and to help people and to be a guide to them and show them Christ's light. So, of course, when you're going through your own life, you can't see your own situation or you can't see what the purpose is for other things, but you can see that the purpose or the whatever you can see things for other people.
Right.
So that's where you can help them and maybe they can help you. And so like, once you just look at the full quilt of life or attempt to look at the full quilt of life, you'll understand that, okay, I'm here because he is taking me somewhere.
Right.
I'm not just here frivolously floating in life. Like there's a purpose for me. Yeah. And the purpose can be big or simple. It can be like big for him, him having the experience of waiting tables to owning a restaurant, or it could be small, just to walk past somebody and give somebody a smile because they're having a bad day. I think it's bigger than what we understand. And I mean, just like his word says, like he has understanding, and I'm paraphrasing and probably saying it wrong, but his understandings are not the way we understand. His ways are not our ways. Right. So the things that we don't understand, we can't see, but he has it for you, and you just have to trust and know.
Right.
At the end of the day, it comes with a purpose.
Right. And being here is like being up here is a blessing. So it's like it's now to the point to where it's like it's not really ideal, like where we want to be ultimately. Like we're still figuring that out, but it's almost like you're excited, like, well, I'm doing this, so what's next? Like I wonder what's gonna come from this, you know what I mean? So it's always it's definitely an experience. I mean, like we said, it's not really ideal, only because like me coming back, I just you almost think it's like kind of like feel like it's a step back, which it's not. But it's almost like, man, it's not a bad thing, and I'm just kind of excited to see what happens from it. You know what I mean?
When you said that, it made me think of two things. One was a roller coaster. The other was a slingshot. The first thing was like when you get on a roller coaster. I don't like roller coasters, but when you get on you got all these twists and turns. You're going up and down, but the whole time you're excited, right?
Yeah,
so that was like the first thing that I was thinking about when you said, going through that, but just being excited that you're on this roller coaster with God, not by yourself, not without a brace, not without something holding you. You got God. Hey, we can do this. I don't know what's going on. I'm excited. And then, like you said, coming up there makes you feel like it's a step back, but it made me think of a slingshot. Sometimes we have to come back, and then he's going to propel us forward.
That is real.
That is real.
I just got chills with that one. Yeah.
And in regards to belief, I know when you get saved, it says you have to believe in your heart that you are saved, or that Jesus died for you, and that just goes to talk to your level of faith, because you know, you come from believing, now you know, I know the word of God. I know this is true. I know these things. So going through that level, I'm no longer in a belief because I know who he is for me, you know, and that part is amazing. Us coming down here to Georgia, like I didn't want to come to Georgia.
I was like, put me in your luggage.
yeah, you did. I was like, I don't want to go. The last time I was in Georgia, I messed up the rental car. It was just too much happening. It was a lot. I was like, I'm not moving to Georgia. But when we moved here, God has. The first thing was we went into an apartment, 3-bedroom apartment with my father, and we was there, and I was like, we're here in an apartment, but we're not going to be here too long. The crazy thing is that Neil was like, man, we get the lease for 3 months, and I'm like, 3 months, boy, you got some faith, but I'm gonna put this.
Just buy the house
I'm gonna put this 6 months on here. This 6 months. So we signed up for 6 months. We moved down in November. December, we started fasting. We did a 21-day fast starting in December, and we found the house. Like the Friday, I was asking the leasing lady, I was like, hey, if we need to leave sooner than 6 months, how does that go? And she told me. So that Saturday, we find this house that we're in, and everything works out. So the same day, the next day, I'm texting her, yeah, so I need to put my release in. And she was like, wow, that was fast. I was like, I mean, you know, when you trust God, amen.
Okay.
That's what's up.
You know, I mean, we came to the apartment, which was a temporary thing. I'm just gonna leave it at that. But it was a nice, you know, little temporary thing. And then we came here, and then we bought our house in January. So we was out of there in 3 months.
In 3 months, just like he said.
And I was like, boy, you crazy.
Hey,
but he had faith. He had faith too. He knew that God was gonna move.
Yeah.
You know, and I think the other thing that's like super important about what you said is like fasting. Like people forget just how like important it is to fast, and you just, you know, you go through life and you don't realize the blessings that come from fasting.
Right.
You know, feeding off of his word, feeding off of his light, you know, what he has for you. And he always, man, he be coming through.
He
always comes through.
Some things only come by prayer and fasting.
Yeah.
It's so true.
Some things. And it talks to like your strength and weaknesses when you're married, like you were saying earlier. Like things I look at him like, your faith is amazing. I have faith, but yours is on a whole nother level. Like how do I getting my mind to that part of it is like, okay, God, I have to pull on his faith to be like, girl, you know. And then the same thing, like for you, he said that since we moved down here, God has shown himself true more than any other part of his life.
I think I had to relocate to get to where I am now because
story.
I had a lot of friends in Maryland who was cool, but they wasn't on the same level sometimes, and or the same tip that I was on. I was trying to grow my faith, but it was like the people or the circle around me. And this ain't no knock to nobody. I'm not looking at it like they bad people or not. It's just I was trying to get more. I wanted abundance. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I knew I had to be uncomfortable with doing it, so I had to leave. And once I left, it felt like a burden had been lifted, like a weight had been lifted. And then people start coming to me, asking me about, well, what does God say about this? And what is eternal life? And then I was sharing with people that I didn't even really know down here too much.
Yeah.
But then it led them to get saved. Though.
Yeah.
So
wow.
Ain't never saved nobody before.
See?
Moved to a new place.
Yeah, I think
that is amazing.
Yeah. And then when we moved, Bishop Jenkins from First Baptist of Glenarden in Maryland, he was talking about the Abraham story. And sometimes for his wife, Sarah, didn't know why they had to move, but God said to move, he had to go to the promised land. And that's where it would be. Hey! Somebody woke up.
Wow.
Where's mommy? She ain't concerned. Oh, it's time to eat. Okay.
We can keep doing this. Sorry.
Sorry about that.
Don't apologize.
Look, well, it brings us into the parenting segment now, right? So knowing you all's background, just a little bit real quick about your parents and how you all take what you've learned from your parents and now how you're going to parent. Selah.
So I was brought up, my parents were extremely strict, like extremely strict. I couldn't, like, even like for instance, if I wanted to go to a sleepover, like my mom, she would be like, you know, a laundry list of things. They have to be like this, they have to be, and then she would have to meet the parents, and they have like 3 to 5 meetings before I could go over and stay. Like, yeah, my parents were super strict.
Wow.
You know, my grades had to be tip top, you know, A's. And even when I got a B, I would always get all A's and 1 B. And my mom, she would just drill on me. Why do you have a B? Da, 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 da. Like, so my parents were extremely strict. I don't think I'm going to, I'm going to be strict with her, but I'm not going to go to the extent that they've gone. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to try to be like a lot more understanding and try to communicate with them, because, you know, sometimes your parents will just spank you for something or tell you do this because I said so, you know, and then it leaves the child like not understanding why, you know, certain things, you're not supposed to do certain things, or, you know, why, you know, just in general, not knowing why. And I always was the one wanting to know why, like why. And that's why I would continue to explore, and then I would get in trouble.
Okay.
To apply a little more communication in my parenting style, just so that, you know, she can understand why I'm telling her to do something or not to do something.
Okay.
Yeah, she definitely gonna ask. That's for sure. If you was asking, she gonna ask.
Exactly. And I don't want her to,
because I said so.
Exactly. And I don't want her to go and explore and be looking into things because I told her, because I said so.
Right. I mean, some things is because I said so.
I'm not ever gonna say that, but just you know.
And then knowing, you know, when and when the power struggles, and like, look, that's a. So what about you, she?
My parents were. My mom was pretty strict. My dad was easygoing. But then we also, my grandma also lived in the house with us, so she played a part in raising us as well. So, you know, if my parents was at work or something like that, because my mom was a principal, my dad was a business owner, so my mom would be, you know, at work probably till like 6:37. My dad would be at work probably till like 8. So I'll be with my grandma a lot. But my mom was definitely. I mean, it was a reason. If she would discipline me, there was always a reason. I would know the reason. You know what I mean? I was just hard-headed, and, you know, sometimes I just had to get dealt with, right? They were like, how do I put this? The mantra was like, you learn by doing. So like everything that, you know, they're teaching, they want you to do it. You know what I mean? Like at an early age, if my dad was cutting the grass and I go out there, he'd show me. He'd be like, you know, cut the grass, like push the lawnmower, do this, do that. You know what I mean? So a lot of it was like learning by doing. So, you know, they tell you, you do it. And, you know, of course, if you knew your chores or you knew your responsibilities and you didn't do it, of course you get in trouble. As I got older, of course, you know, when you're a kid, everybody get whoopings. But, you know, you get punished, you get, you know, grounded, and but a lot of things that were instilled in me was more so I want to be like the type of father where, and this is like how my mom is, like where you can come to me and talk to me about whatever, because, you know, everybody has those moments where you feel like alone and you feel like you can't talk to somebody or something like that, I want to be that. Like she can talk to me about whatever. You know what I mean? There's gonna be times where I'm like, I'm not one of your little friends, but it's like, you know, I want her. I want her to be able to come and talk to me. I also want to be the father where it's like, you know, because like I said, my parents, I had a lot of cousins. I had a lot of influences growing up. So like, I have an uncle, and it's like, if you ask him a question, the response will be like something epic. Like it'll be like, for instance, let's say at Thanksgiving dinner, we have a tradition where we go around and say what we're thankful for, right? Dude, you know, you'd be like, oh, I'm thankful for this, I'm thankful for that. This dude, he'll be like, thankful. The word thankful. You know what I'm saying? Like, and go into like this whole like monologue, right? So that's like kind of like how like, you know, I want to be, you know, with Selah as far as parenting. I want to eventually, as she gets older, of course, now it's about teaching and showing her the way. But as she gets older, I want to be that person to where it's like, man, my dad, he says epic things. Right. He's a wise man, right? You know what I mean? So that's how I came up. Like my dad, my mom, they were always kind of like, my dad always shed light. Like he always like gave wisdom, right? My mom, of course, she growing up, she would give the whoopings, but at the same time, she would also let me know, like she would ask the difficult questions. So like to have the conversation so I can be able to talk to her. Of course, you know, you'd be awkward. You'd be like, yeah, but then you know, you get to talk, and then when you grow up, that's how your mom or your dad becomes your best friends. You know what I mean? Because it's like, as time goes along, all these talks and stuff, now it's like, oh, I'm used to this. Now we're talking, and you know, we're grown up now. So that's kind of where I want to be at it with Say.
I was gonna say this too, like to back up my point for like, for instance, you know the saying like you should be a virgin until you get married. Well, my mom, she was always like, you better not be having sex. Like that was her saying.
Yeah.
So it's like instead of taking that approach, I want to take an approach that I've seen other, like Rasheed's parents or other people's parents take, because when she did that, you know, the enemy would come, and it's like, it just made me more curious about it. So that's like why I'm like, I want to communicate more. I like the reason I want to take from Rasheed's parents and some of my other friends' parents is because their parents had an open dialogue about why. Yeah. And they waited way longer than I would have. One of my friends, she actually was a virgin until she got married. And it's because she had that type of relationship with her mom to communicate about those things. My mom would communicate, but it was more like this and not like open dialogue. And I realized like if I had that type of upbringing, maybe I wouldn't have been so curious about it and did something that I shouldn't have done so much earlier. And I mean, for instance, she's funny, like I would get the no and not the why. So for instance, I would get in trouble, and then she would be lecturing me while she's like spanking me. Like, you know, she would spank me, stop and lecture me for an hour on why. But it was already after the deed was done.
Right.
So it's just having that communication, I think, is going to speak volumes, like Rasheed said. And I mean, to this day, me and my mom, we could talk about anything. But in the beginning, it was more of a mother-child situation and like a dictatorship, and not so much a democracy.
Right. I know for me, I was raised by my family, and then life happened, and then I went to foster care and adoption. So I had a bunch of different views of how you could raise a child. And then I went to early childhood, and then I was in child and adolescent studies. So like a lot of what I created of how I wanted to raise my children came from research. Like maybe from like what I learned from being a teacher and education and psychology, to where you want to have them explain the why. But the only thing I didn't understand is the boundaries. For instance, all of our kids like to sleep in our bed. I didn't have boundaries for that. So
don't do it, bro.
We're in that area right now because she is, co-sleeping with us, and
nursing, because like when you nurse and it's simpler when you're nursing, versus turn it over versus get up, go.
Exactly.
It's created a bad habit.
Exactly.
I'm telling you, man. My son, he's 3 years old, and every night he's banging on my door, coming in. He'll wait. He'll leave our room at 3 a.m. He'll wait 10 minutes.
Yeah,
when we fall asleep, to come back and get in the bed.
Yeah, sneaking in the bed. They only come to my side. Now we have an 11-year-old, and Neil does lift at night sometimes, so he'll be home a little late. So he'll come in and be like, "Mom, Dad's not here. Can I just sleep in your bed one time?" I'm like, "God,
that is hilarious.
He's 11. He about to be 12 in 2 weeks.
Oh my gosh. We got it. Yeah. I told her already, you making it hard for the next one, because all this stuff that we allowed you to do,
it's not
happening.
Well, good. You learn from your mistakes. I didn't learn from that. I didn't learn. Still learning. Didn't learn from it.
It's okay. That's what life is about. Still learning.
Right.
But I've heard parent. There's no such thing as a perfect parent. You just do the best that you can.
Right.
But also, as parents, you learn from your parents, and then you also learn what not to do or other ways to do. So it's like, that's why certain things, like even discipline-wise, right? It's like Shiri was saying about her mom. It's like she disciplined because that's probably how she was raised.
That's how she was disciplined.
Right? But see, with us, like I said, I'm not keep bringing this up, but I pledged. You know what I'm saying? So I know different ways of discipline. And having to thank somebody, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like it's different ways that you can discipline a child without having to physically or mentally damage them, really.
Exactly, because you don't even think about the mental the mental constraint that is on you when you're being disciplined. I mean, not to say that like my mom has like damaged me, but it kind of puts you in a shell.
Yeah.
And so because you're afraid, like I was afraid to do anything.
Yeah.
My mom would beat me.
Yeah.
I don't want her to live like that. I want her to live bold.
Right.
But with being educated on what her decision is and why she wants to do it, having an understanding of that, not to be like, I'm timid and I'm scared to do this or to do that because of whatever the reason is. But I mean, like I said, I have so much respect for her mom and understanding for why she raised us the way she did. And again, it comes from her upbringing, and I understand that because she was raised by a mom who experienced, not experienced slavery, but experienced racism on an all-time high. So there were things and times where she had to say and was not able to understand. I mean, explain to her.
I had to fight.
Not able to explain to her children why these people hate her. So there was times where she said, just do this because I said, just do it. So that's kind of where that comes from. But now in this new day and age, there are so many different ways to, like you said, discipline through, you can learn different techniques through research. There's so many, information is
right
powerful if you apply it.
Right.
You got to have a balance in discipline and educating kids in a different way now, because I know growing up and seeing like high school kids that didn't do well or were like out there is because they probably were sheltered at home, or like had so much discipline at home. Once they got away from home and school, or when they went to college, it was just off the chain because they were finally away from all of that one way thinking discipline. But now it's like we gotta have a balanced look at it. Of course, everybody gonna make mistakes. We all were kids at one time. And we did things we shouldn't have did. But it's like God has grace on us and forgives us what we do.
Amen.
And then gives us time and time again to get it right. We gotta do the same for the kids. So,
But I also go ahead.
Well, Ephesians 4, we talked about that a little bit, and how we have to receive the discipline and instruction that the Lord gives us, because each child is different.
Yeah.
The way that I discipline and instruct my oldest, I know they ain't flying with my youngest. You know, because my oldest I can say, I'm disappointed in you. My youngest, I mean, we're still learning him, but he different. So each one of them is different. Each one of them have different gifts, and each one of them you got to treat differently. So we have to get that understanding from God of God, he gave me this gift. How I'm supposed to unwrapping this, because I don't know.
Exactly. Just praying to him like, ooh, show me the way, because he's just
yeah, keep us in prayer. Amen.
And I know we're only like a year and a half in the game, but I've heard that a lot too. Like, you know, every child is different. Like, they're different. You gotta raise them. You can't do the same thing for every child. So we're not fully. We're never fully gonna be fully prepared, but we're prepared. We're mentally prepared.
As much as we can be.
Right.
With his guidance.
Right.
What'd you say?
I said with his guidance.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Can't go out here thinking you're gonna do it on your own. You be messed up.
Right. So that brings me to the last point of the scripture that you all use to guide your life, your marriage. Share with us that scripture.
Well, we go. Our main thing before we had our wedding, was, I mean, the whole really like Ephesians 5. Pretty much like our whole like premarital was based on like Ephesians 5. Basically, you know,
how to treat your
wife,
right,
you know what I mean? Just,
you know, love. I don't think that's in Ephesians 5, it's in Ephesians, but you know, love your husbands and wives, submit to one another. I'm not saying it right, but wives, submit to your husband, and you love your wife like Christ loved the church.
Right.
You know, all those scriptures really help to create the foundation of our marriage.
Yes.
Then once we got to Ephesians 5, that's when we was like, oh, like that's our favorite scripture, because it talks about the fruits of the spirit. And, you know, you have to ask yourself in life, like, you know, am I practicing the fruits of the spirit in my day-to-day life? And if there's one that I'm struggling with, which one do I need to learn from, or which one do I need more of? And that's what you can begin to pray for and ask God to give you more of that. And of course, after that, then it talks about wearing the armor of God, and, you know, going into every day, you know, as soon as you hit the floor, knowing, okay, do I have all the armor of God on before I go out here and deal with this spiritual warfare?
Right.
It's nonstop. And the second you let your guard down, or you don't have on your, you know, your belt girded in truth, or you don't have the sword ready, you know, your biblical sword. Once you don't have this one thing, it's like an entry point for the enemy to come in and try to tear you down. You know, so.
But I personally need to kind of get like sharpen up on the word, because that is like, you know, the sword.
Yeah.
So like, but if I'm not mistaken, I like Ephesians, because when you think about it, right, Paul wrote the letter to the Ephesians, but he's like locked up in a horrible situation.
Right.
But he's literally telling these people like, hey, this is what you need to do, you know, to get to the kingdom of heaven. I'm not, don't, you know, quote me. I'm just going off of, you know, things that I've heard in Bible study, or like just based off of Ephesians. So that's really why I like Ephesians, because it's like somebody who's going through something themselves,
right, and still being able to
trying to get people,
encouragement,
right, give encouragement and show people the way. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's what I like about. That's what I personally like about it. But yeah, that's our like before we got married, we spent a lot of time in Ephesians, so we kind of go by that.
Yeah.
So before y'all got married, y'all was reading the Bible together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
She was reading a little more than I was.
I wanted to challenge myself because, like,
she read the whole Bible. Like, she read from Genesis like to Revelations.
Yeah, because, you know, just like we were talking about earlier, like, you go through things in life, and I had to come to a knowing. You know, I got to a place when I got in college where I began to question a lot of things. You know, question the way I was raised, question, you know, what we were taught about religion, and just started to question a lot of things. So that's when I was like, you know what, I'm going to use the Bible as my reference point and look at it as a historical book, and then try to understand what it's saying. So by me having that time to read and just like read the entire Bible, it gave me a completely new eyes. Like, I was renewed.
And it took her like 8 months.
Yeah, I was, and then it would be times where I would get so excited about reading because I'm like, oh man, this chapter is dope. Like, you know, like reading certain things, I'm like, man, this is better than a soap opera. right. Like for instance, the story of Joseph. Like, I'm like, man, can you imagine when his brothers walked in there? He's like, oh,
right.
They didn't even know. I don't even think they really knew at first.
They did it. They did it.
Right, exactly. They didn't even recognize him. He tried to keep himself composed. He had to go in the other room to cry because he like, man, these my people, and he had already forgiven them. And you know, that was just like, I don't know. I used the time to learn the Bible, to get understanding of His Word, and that's when I began my journey of knowing that, wow, like this is real. And then you can actually place the things that are in the Bible with real things that have happened in history. So it's like,
that's true.
Right.
That for me solidified that this is real. You know, like I don't have to question no more. Like, this is real.
And I think that's the issue some people get caught up in regards to believing and knowing, is that it's not a storybook. It's very real.
It is very real. It is.
When Sherry put it into my perspective, like, this is like, you know, like the Old Testament, especially, like this is like the history book of, like, you know, the Hebrew people or whatever. And then when you start reading it in that way, you're like, yo, this is crazy, because it's like, even in Genesis, then you start like, then it's like, oh, such and such had these kids, and then he dies at the age of 462 years old. Then he had these kids.
It's the genealogy.
It's like, right.
So now I look at Christ like a cousin. I'm like,
right. And then you start with the historical stuff, and then you start going back, like even from Hebrews to Negroes. Have y'all watched that? It talks about like all the stuff. So they talk about Genesis and how they naming all these tribes. So they're going back to the tribes, showing what the tribes look like. You know what I'm saying? Showing how black from Nigeria, or they migrated here, they migrated there. Mind you, I mean, I know it's not about race, but bruh, it's dope. Because Hebrews is pretty good. They track it down, like where are these people at now? Where they come from? You know,
I was never really into history, but reading the Bible, you'd be like, ooh, because you feel exactly like, I need to know this.
Right. Exactly. And then they talk about certain things historically in there, and you'd be like, oh man, my man was over here locked in the dungeon while this war was going on over here, though, in real life.
Seriously.
Yeah.
So
it's crazy. It's crazy.
It's a app that somebody at my church that we go to told me about, called The Chosen, which is like stories in the Bible, but they put it in like a drama series. It's called The Chosen. I don't know if you can see it.
He might put me up on game. I'm gonna have to.
It's like its own Netflix, but they have all the stories. But it's like it's an app called The Chosen. You download it. It's a free app, but they like it's like a drama series, but it's like so you can watch all the stories in the Bible. They have pretty much all of them in here.
So it's lit. Look, I put it down in my phone. I'm checking that out.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely.
I haven't even got a chance to watch it, but everybody at the church say, man, you're gonna be hooked because it's like real life, like
and like especially if you're like a visual person, it just helps bring you to life, and help you to remember. Like, ooh,
right. I mean, that is, man, that's lit. I'm definitely gonna check that out. Yeah. And it does help you to remember the story for sure. Like that is, and then you can just pass that information down to your child. And that's one thing I didn't say. I do want to raise her to have a foundation and understanding of Christ. Mm-hmm. Like that is one of the most important things. So having tools like The Chosen to reference it to, because in the beginning she might not be intrigued to read the Bible, but once you see the story, then she might be more intrigued to read the Bible and have that reference point and understand the stories and the lessons.
Mm-hmm. Like you said, the visual of it. I follow this person on YouTube, Truth Unedited, and he has this little thing called the history of religion, right? But it starts off, it's like, okay, like the history of religion, right? But then it kind of turns into like a summary of like the Bible, but it's like he's like breaking it down every verse, every chapter, and then it's kind of cool because it's like there's a whole bunch of videos. But I watched it and it was kind of like, oh man, this is great. Like it's like I'm reading the Bible, but it's like the cartoon.
And that's crazy too, because I'm pretty sure his take on it is not to teach you about the Bible, right?
Right.
Exactly.
Because it's his. It's called Truth Unedited because his ministry is kind of like unorthodox. So he talks about the word, but he applies it to like things that are going on today. So it's almost, I don't know. I guess a lot of people probably wouldn't accept it just because it's
because it's not the popular opinion,
right? He puts the word, like he'll talk about. For instance, he'll say, let's see, the vaccine, right? And he'll talk about the vaccine and he'll say, something like, okay, I'm not saying the vaccine is the mark of the beast, but it's getting you ready for the mark of the beast. Right. We should, as God's people, we should do this. And he goes and verses and talks about things like that. But it's different. It's kind of, I mean, I was a revolutionary before I met Sherry, so
we both just became rebels together, but we're rebels with a cause.
Right. That's all right.
I used to be on it back in the day, protesting. If I could have an afro, a super afro, I would have. I didn't, but.
That's cool.
I was that guy. I was the COINTELPRO guy, bro. I'm telling you. I was like, bro, I'm telling you, they ruined the Black community.
Right.
Well, we want to say thank you all for joining us, and our special guest, Kayla.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah. And our special guest, Selah, hey.
Right. Say hi,
say
Look at those cheeky cheeks. At the end of every podcast that we do, we say the blessings prayer. Mm-hmm. So we'll recite that now. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you and give you his grace, and his grace be unto you. May the Lord show you his favor and give you peace. In Jesus' name, we thank y'all for joining us. Until next time, be blessed.
You too. Y'all be blessed too. Love y'all.
Love you.
See y'all later.